What is cryptography? Cryptography is the science and practice of securing communication and data. And this is done by converting it into a format that is unreadable and meaningless to anyone except those who have the proper key to decrypt it. It involves techniques for encrypting and decrypting information to protect it from unauthorized access or alteration. Like you can see here, we have taken plain text. Plain text might be something like hello, and then we encrypt it. Forget about the keys for now. I will explain it later. For now, say that hello is your plain text. It is readable, it is non-encrypted. Anybody can make sense of it. You are encrypting it, sending it through an encryption engine, and then you get your ciphertext. Ciphertext of hello might be something like this. This is non-readable and it is encrypted and it is meaningless. You cannot see this and say it is hello. So if you want to make sense of it, you have to decrypt it and then you get back hello. This is the readable plain text format. So in simple terms, cryptography is like using a secret code to hide a message from prying eyes. Imagine you have a secret message that you want to send to a friend. Instead of sending it as a plain text where anybody can read it, you use cryptography to encode the message into a scrambled form using a special key. Your friend, only that friend knows the key, and who knows the key can decode the message back into plain text to read it. So cryptography is used in various applications, including securing communication over the internet, such as HTTPS for secure web browsing, and then protecting sensitive data, both stored on computers or servers or transmitted over networks. Then there is digital signatures. Digital signatures for verifying authenticity of messages or documents, and for securing authentication methods like passwords and biometrics. So basically, cryptography plays a crucial role in ensuring confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation. For example, I'm on this site. If you enter hello here and then click on encrypt, this is the encrypted value, and we are using the type of encryption AES. We will learn about different types later. For now, understand when you encrypt something, it becomes a meaningless value like this. If I copy the same and then try to decrypt it, when I decrypt this value, I'm going to get back hello. Okay. Now let's see how cryptography works. It works by using mathematical algorithms and keys to transform plain text into ciphertext. Ciphertext is nothing but encrypted data or the non-readable format, meaningless data, and vice versa. So we need a mathematical algorithm and keys to transform plain text to ciphertext and ciphertext back to plain text. First, let's see how encryption is done. First step is to select an encryption algorithm. So choose a suitable algorithm. There are many algorithms that are available, such as AES, which is for symmetric encryption. We will talk about symmetric and asymmetric encryption in more detail later. And then RSA for asymmetric encryption. You select which one you want based on security requirements and performance considerations. Then the next step is to generate keys. If you're using symmetric algorithm, only a single shared key is required. If you're considering symmetric encryption, then a key pair is required. Key pair consisting of public key and private key. So you have the encryption algorithm, then you generate the keys. Next is the encryption process. Use the selected algorithm and keys to encrypt the plain text. In symmetric encryption, the same key is used for both encryption and decryption, but in asymmetric encryption, public key is used for encryption. So if you're choosing symmetric encryption, the same single key does both encryption and decryption. But if you are using asymmetric encryption, public key is used for encryption, and for private decryption we use private key. And then after applying the encryption algorithm to the plain text using the encryption key, it results in the ciphertext. This is the encrypted data. The ciphertext appears as a random and meaningless data, making it unreadable without the corresponding decryption key. Now let's look at decryption, how it is done. First step is to retrieve keys. So you obtain the appropriate decryption keys required to decrypt the ciphertext. So in symmetric, like I said, the same key is used for encryption, also used for decryption. While in asymmetric, private key is used for decryption. Next is the decryption process. Apply the decryption algorithm to the ciphertext. So you send the ciphertext to the decryption algorithm using the decryption keys, and the decryption process results in the recovery of the original plain text, which can now be read and understood. Okay, so if you look at this figure, you're taking the plain text, you're encrypting it using the secret key of symmetric key cryptography or public key of asymmetric key cryptography. Then you get the ciphertext here, which is unreadable. Suppose you're saying hello, you're getting this value which is unreadable, and then you're sending the ciphertext to decrypt whenever you want to read it or somebody else wants to read the message. You are using the same secret key in symmetric cryptography, but in asymmetric, you're using the private key for decryption. And once you decrypt it, you get the plain text, which is readable, and unencrypted, which says hello. And that's how cryptography works. Now let's look at the types of cryptography. There are two different main types, that is symmetric and asymmetric cryptography. First, let's talk about symmetric cryptography. This is also known as secret key cryptography or single key cryptography. This is a cryptographic method that uses the same key for both encryption and decryption of data. In this, the sender and the receiver share a secret key, which they use to both encrypt and decrypt messages. Imagine that Alice wants to send a confidential message to Bob. Say she's sending it over an insecure communication channel such as the internet. So Alice and Bob decide to use symmetric cryptography to encrypt and decrypt their messages. First thing they do is to generate a key. Both of them agree on a secret key that they will use for encryption and decryption. Let's say that the key that they choose is secret key 123, and the second step is encryption. Alice wants to send the message, say meet me at 6 p.m. This is a message she wants to send to Bob. Now using the secret key 123 and a symmetric algorithm like say AES, I'm choosing AES. There are many other types of symmetric algorithms. For this we will choose AES. Alice will encrypt this message. So this is the plain text and this is your key, and the cipher text or the encrypted text would be something like this. Okay, Alice then sends the encrypted message, this message, to Bob over the insecure channel, that is the internet. Now, next step is decryption. So Bob receives the ciphertext. Bob wants to read it because this ciphertext makes no sense to him. So he will have to decrypt it to read the actual original plain text message. Bob knows the secret key, that is secret key 123. Now he will use the same encryption algorithm, that is AES, and the secret key, which is secret key 123, and he has the ciphertext. This is the ciphertext he has. He uses all of this and decrypts the message to get the plain text saying meet me at 6 p.m. So in this example, symmetric cryptography allows Alice to securely encrypt her message using a secret key, and Bob can then decrypt the message using the same key. Without knowing the secret key, an eavesdropper, say, monitoring the communication channel would not be able to decipher the encrypted message, ensuring the confidentiality of the communication between Alice and Bob. Now let's look at some of the pros and cons of symmetric encryption. First, let's look at the pros. First one is efficiency. Symmetric cryptography is generally faster and more computationally efficient compared to asymmetric cryptography. This efficiency makes it suitable for encrypting large volumes of data and real-time communication systems. Next pro is simplicity. Symmetric encryption algorithms are often simpler to implement and use compared to asymmetric encryption algorithms. They require fewer computational resources and are easier to understand, making them more accessible for practical applications. Next is key management. Since only one key is required for both encryption and decryption in symmetric cryptography, key management is relatively straightforward compared to asymmetric cryptography. This simplicity simplifies key distribution, storage, and maintenance. Next, security. Symmetric encryption algorithms offer strong security when using sufficiently long and randomly generated keys. When properly implemented, symmetric cryptography provides confidentiality for encrypted data, protecting it from unauthorized access and disclosure. Next, let's look at the disadvantages, cons of symmetric cryptography. First one is key distribution. One of the main challenges in symmetric cryptography is securely distributing the secret key to both the sender and the recipient. Secure key distribution methods are essential to prevent unauthorized access to the key and protect the confidentiality of the encrypted data. So in Alice and Bob's example, first thing that they have to do is agree on a secret key. And how do they do it? Because there is no encryption before the key is generated, right? So that is the main challenge here. It needs to be done, say, as in-person exchange, secure messaging protocols, or using established key distribution protocols. So that becomes a problem. Key distribution is a problem in symmetric cryptography. Next disadvantage is related to key management. While symmetric key management is simpler than asymmetric key management, it can still be challenging in large scale or distributed systems. Proper key management practices such as key rotation and secure storage are necessary to maintain the security of the encryption key. Next is key exchange. Establishing a shared secret key between communicating parties can be challenging, especially in scenarios where secure communication channels are not available. Key exchange protocols. There are key exchange protocols such as Diffie-Hellman. This is a very popular key exchange protocol. These are usually used to securely negotiate shared keys over insecure channels. Next is lack of authentication. So symmetric cryptography alone does not provide authentication or non-repudiation features, meaning that it cannot verify the identity of communicating parties or prevent them from denying their actions. Additional mechanisms such as digital signatures or message authentication codes, MACs, are required to address these security requirements. So some of the examples of symmetric key cryptography algorithms include DES, that is Data Encryption Standard. This is the oldest and widely used symmetric cryptography algorithms. It operates on 64-bit blocks of data and uses 56-bit key for encryption and decryption. While DES was considered secure, its short length made it vulnerable to brute force attacks. As a result, it has largely been replaced by more secure encryption algorithms like AES. AES is another symmetric algorithm. It stands for Advanced Encryption Standard. This has become the de facto standard for securing data. It operates on 128-bit blocks of data and supports key lengths of 128, 192, 256 bits. AES is widely used in various applications, including secure communication protocols like TLS, SSL, data encryption and storage systems, and cryptographic software libraries. Another example of symmetric cryptography is triple DES. This applies DES algorithm three times with different keys for each iteration. It provides increased security by effectively using longer lengths, for example 168 bits compared to DES. This is the key length. Despite its enhanced security, triple DES is considered to be less efficient than AES and has largely been phased out in favor of AES for new deployments. Another example of symmetric cryptography is Bluefish. This operates on variable lengths of data, length blocks of data, that is from 32 to 448 bits, and supports key lengths from 32 to 448 bits. Blowfish is known for its simplicity and fast encryption and decryption speeds. However, it is no longer recommended for new applications due to potential vulnerabilities and the availability of more secure alternatives like AES. Another symmetric key example is RC4. It is often used in applications requiring lightweight encryption such as wireless communication protocols and SSL encryption. However, RC4 has been found to have security weaknesses, particularly in its key scheduling algorithm, leading to its deprecation in modern cryptographic standards and protocols. Now let's look at asymmetric key cryptography. This is also known as public key cryptography. This is a cryptographic technique that uses a pair of keys for encryption and decryption, that is private key and public key. Private key is used for decryption and public key is used for encryption. These two keys are mathematically related, but it is computationally infeasible to derive one key from another one. So public key is shared openly with everyone and is used for encryption, while private key is kept secret. Let's see an example again. Again, consider that Alice wants to send a confidential message to Bob, and now she is using asymmetric cryptography to do that. First, she generates a key pair consisting of a public key and a private key. She keeps the private key and then shares the public key with Bob. The message is again, meet me at 6 p.m. That is the plain text. For encryption, Alice uses Bob's public key to encrypt this message. She applies the encryption algorithm to the plain text message, that is meet me at 6 p.m. and Bob's public key, resulting in ciphertext. Now Bob receives that ciphertext. Bob uses his private key to decrypt the ciphertext and recover the original plain text message. He applies the decryption algorithm to the ciphertext and his private key, resulting in the retrieval of the original message. If Alice wanted to send a digitally signed message using digital signatures, we will discuss this in depth very soon. This is to prove the authenticity. Then Alice generates a digital signature by applying a cryptographic hash function to the message to create a message digest. So this can also be done using asymmetric cryptography, but we'll look at it in a bit. So, in this example, asymmetric cryptography allows Alice and Bob to securely communicate and verify the authenticity of their messages without sharing a secret key. So, Alice is encrypting the message using Bob's public key, and this ensures that only Bob, who has the corresponding private key, can decrypt and read the message. Now let's look at some of the advantages of asymmetric cryptography. First one is secure key exchange. Asymmetric cryptography enables secure key exchange without requiring a pre-existing shared secret between communicating parties. This eliminates the need for secure channels or trusted intermediaries for key distribution, and this makes it suitable for secure communication over untrusted networks. This is because public key can be shared freely. Next is digital signatures. Asymmetric cryptography allows for the creation and verification of digital signatures, providing authentication and non-repudiation of messages. Digital signatures ensure that a message originates from a particular sender and has not been tampered with during transmission. Next, security. Asymmetric encryption algorithms provide strong security guarantees even against powerful adversaries with significant computational resources. The security of asymmetric cryptography relies on the mathematical complexity of key pairs, making it resistant to brute force attacks and other cryptanalytic techniques. Next is key management. Asymmetric cryptography simplifies key management compared to symmetric cryptography, as it eliminates the need for securely sharing and distributing secret keys. Public keys can be freely distributed and shared, while private keys remain confidential and are securely stored by their respective owners. Now let's look at the disadvantages of asymmetric cryptography. First one is performance. Asymmetric cryptography tends to be slower and computationally more intensive than symmetric cryptography. The use of large key sizes and complex mathematical operations contributes to increased computational overhead and slower processing speeds. Next is key length. Asymmetric encryption algorithms typically require longer key lengths compared to symmetric encryption algorithms to achieve equivalent security levels. Longer key lengths result in larger ciphertexts and increased computational overhead. This impacts both performance and bandwidth requirements. Next is the key size. The storage and transmission of large public keys in asymmetric cryptography can pose challenges in resource constrained environments such as embedded systems, mobile devices, and IoT devices. Transmitting large public keys over networks may incur additional latency and bandwidth costs. Next, key management complexity. While asymmetric cryptography simplifies key distribution compared to symmetric cryptography, it introduces complexities in key management, particularly in securely storing and protecting private keys. Effective key management practices are essential to prevent unauthorized access or disclosure of private keys and ensure the security of encrypted data. Now let's look at some of the examples of asymmetric cryptography. First one is RSA. This is one of the oldest and most widely used asymmetric encryption algorithms. It uses the mathematical properties of large prime numbers and their factorization to generate public and private key pairs. RSA is used in various applications including secure communication protocols, for example TLS SSL, and digital signatures. Next example is DSA, which stands for Digital Signature Algorithm. This is based on the discrete logarithm problem. It is commonly used for creating and verifying digital signatures in cryptographic protocols. It is often used in conjunction with other cryptographic algorithms such as SHA-256 to provide secure digital signatures. Next example is elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. This is a variant of the DSA algorithm that uses elliptic curve cryptography for digital signatures. This offers similar security levels as RSA but with smaller key sizes, making it more efficient for resource constrained environments. It is widely used in applications where efficient digital signatures are required, such as secure messaging protocols and cryptocurrency transactions. Next, Diffie-Hellman key exchange. This is a key exchange algorithm that allows two parties to establish a shared secret key over an insecure communication channel. It is used to negotiate shared symmetric encryption keys without needing a pre-existing shared secret. This is a fundamental building block in many cryptographic protocols, including TLS, SSL, IPsec, and SSH. We will compare symmetric cryptography with asymmetric cryptography. First aspect of comparison is key types. Symmetric cryptography utilizes a single secret key known as the symmetric key for both encryption and decryption. Asymmetric cryptography relies on a pair of keys, a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption and digital signatures. Next aspect of comparison is key distribution. In the symmetric one, key distribution can be challenging as both parties must securely exchange and maintain the same secret key. Like we said, it uses only a single secret key for both decryption and encryption. In asymmetric cryptography, the public key, which is used for encryption, can be freely distributed. This simplifies the key exchange, while the private key must be closely guarded. Next aspect of comparison is computational complexity. In symmetric one, it is generally faster for both encryption and decryption, making it suitable for encrypting and decrypting large data sets. Asymmetric one is slower compared to the symmetric one due to complex mathematical operations, especially for encrypting or decrypting large data. Next aspect of comparison is security. Symmetric cryptography requires robust key management because a compromise of the key compromises all data. Security relies heavily on key protection. Asymmetric cryptography offers stronger security as the private key is kept secret, making it resistant to unauthorized decryption even if the public key is known. Next aspect of comparison is use cases. Symmetric cryptography is typically used where secure key distribution is feasible and maintained, such as securing data at rest and data in transit. Asymmetric cryptography is commonly used for secure key exchange. Example, Diffie-Hellman. It's also used in digital signatures like verifying message authenticity, and it can be used for secure communication between parties that have not previously exchanged keys. Let's go to the next aspect. Examples. Symmetric examples include AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, DES, Data Encryption Standard, Triple DES, and then asymmetric examples include RSA, ECC, elliptic curve cryptography, and also algorithms used in HTTPS, SSH, and digital signatures. Next aspect of comparison is key generation. In symmetric, keys are generated and distributed manually or using key exchange protocols. In asymmetric cryptography, keys are generated using mathematical algorithms, often with user-specific public keys. Next aspect of comparison is speed of encryption or decryption. Symmetric is fast and efficient due to the simplicity of using a single key. Asymmetric cryptography is slower due to complex mathematical operations, especially for large data sets. Next aspect of comparison is confidentiality. versus authentication. Symmetric cryptography is primarily used for data confidentiality and may not provide strong authentication. Asymmetric cryptography offers strong authentication and data confidentiality. Let's go to the next comparison. Size of keys. In asymmetric, keys are relatively short, typically 128 to 256 bits. In asymmetric cryptography, keys are longer, typically 2048 bits or more for strong security. Next aspect of comparison is computational resources. Symmetric cryptography requires less computational power, making it suitable for resource constrained devices. Asymmetric cryptography demands more computational resources, which may not be suitable for all devices. Next aspect of comparison is examples of protocols or applications. Symmetric cryptography is used in protocols like TLS, SSL, VPNs, and disk encryption. Disk encryption examples include BitLocker and File Vault. Asymmetric cryptography is applied in HTTPS, SSH, PGP, GPG, digital signatures, and secure emails, like for example, SMIME. So this is the comparison between symmetric and asymmetric cryptography. Now let's talk about hashing. This is a cryptographic technique used to convert data of any size into a fixed size string of characters. This is typically a sequence of numbers and letters. The output is called a hash value or hash code. Let's see how hash works. So this is the hashing algorithm. It takes an input, which can be data of any size, such as a message, file, or password. Then this hash function, which is a mathematical algorithm that processes the input data and produces a fixed size output. The output is unique to the input data, meaning that even a small change in the input results in a significantly different hash value. Let's now look at the characteristics of hash functions. The first one is deterministic. For the same input, the hash function always produces the same hash value. So if I go to this online hash generator and if I want to generate hash for this, I'm generating MD5 hash. There are different types of hash algorithms like SHA-1, SHA-256, MD5. So this will generate hash value something like this. So for hello world, MD5 will always generate this hash and SHA-1 hash will always be this. That is being deterministic. For the same input data, a hash function always generates the same hash value. Next characteristic is fixed output size. Hash functions produce hash values of fixed length regardless of the size of the input. Here for hello, this is the hash that has been generated, but if I give a different value, this is a big value, right? And I'm going to generate. It is generating a hash value that is exactly of the same size which it did for hello. Even though the size of the input changed, the output size will always be the same. Also, hash functions are designed to be computationally efficient, allowing them to process large volumes of data quickly. Also, hash functions are one-way functions. That means it is not possible if you have this data, like in encryption, if you have the key, you can decrypt it. But in hash functions, if you have this hash value, there is no way that you can get back the original value. It is just one-way function. It doesn't go back. You cannot reverse the process. Also, a good hash function should minimize the likelihood of collisions. That is, where two inputs produce the same hash value. If I change even slightly something here, I'm just going to remove E from online here and then generate it, see the hash value completely changed. So no two inputs should create the same hash value. That is, the likelihood of collision should be really minimalistic in a very good hash function, and also even the slightest difference in the input value will generate a completely different hash function. Now let's look at the applications of hashing. First one is data integrity verification. Hashing is used to verify the integrity of data by generating a hash value of the original data and comparing it to the hash value of the received or stored data. So there is a file, you generate hash value for this. Now you send it to somebody else, the same file, and they generate the hash value of this using the same hash function. If these values are the same, that means the integrity is good. Another application of hashing is password storage. Hashing is commonly used to store passwords securely. Instead of storing plain text passwords, systems store the hash values of passwords. During authentication, the user's input is hashed and compared to the stored hash value. Next, digital signatures. It is a key component of digital signatures. Hash functions are used to create message digests, that is hash value, which are then encrypted with the signer's private key to generate a digital signature. Digital signatures. So what is a digital signature? Digital signature is a cryptographic technique. It is used to verify the authenticity, integrity, and origin of a digital message, document, or transaction in the digital world. They serve as a digital counterpart to handwritten signatures. And now let's see the primary purposes of digital signatures. First purpose is authentication, that is verifying the identity of the sender or creator of a digital document or message. A valid digital signature confirms that the document was indeed signed by the claimed sender. Next purpose is to provide data integrity, that is ensuring that the content of the digital document or message has not been altered in transit or since it was signed. Any unauthorized changes to the document invalidate the digital signature. Next is non-repudiation, that is preventing the signer from denying their involvement in signing the document. A valid digital signature provides legal evidence of the signer's intent and commitment. Next is security, that is protecting the document or message from unauthorized access, tampering, or fraud. Digital signatures use encryption techniques to secure the data. Next is efficiency and convenience, that is streamlining digital transactions and document management by eliminating the need for physical signatures, reducing paperwork, and enabling remote or online signing. Next purpose is building trust in digital interactions by ensuring that the information exchanged is genuine and secure. Now we'll see actually how digital signatures work, and then we'll see how it establishes all these purposes of providing authentication, integrity, non-repudiation, security, and everything. Let's consider a scenario where I want to send a document to you. So there are two parties in this. One is me and the other one is you. I am the one who's sending the document, so I become the signer who's digitally signing the document, and you are the one verifying if the signature is valid, so you are the verifier. So for me to sign a document, I need my private key. So before I can create a digital signature, I am going to need a digital certificate. For now, understand that this certificate is issued by a trusted certificate authority, CA, and it includes my public key and information about myself and my organization. I can obtain a digital certificate from a CA or generate a self-signed certificate for personal use. Now, this is the document I want to send it to you. So I need to sign this. I will ensure that it is in a format that supports digital signatures such as PDF, Word, or email signatures. Then the next step is create a cryptographic hash. So I will send my document through a hashing algorithm, for example, SHA-256 or SHA-3, and this will create a hash. A hash is a fixed length string of characters generated from the content of the document. Any change in the document content will result in a completely different hash value. Even if you remove a full stop, then it creates a completely different hash value. Okay. So now I have taken my document, I have sent it through an hash algorithm, and then I've created a hash. Next is I will sign this hash. I will use my private key to sign the hash of the document. So I would have used a cryptographic tool or software to generate a key pair. I need to keep the private key secret and should never share it with anyone. The private key will be used to create the digital signature, while the public key is shared with others to verify the signature. So the signing process involves encrypting. So I'm going to take this hash, encrypt the hash with my private key, creating a unique signature for that specific document. Now I will attach the digital signature to the document. This is often done by embedding it in the document metadata or as a separate signature file. So I have taken my document, I sent that through a hash algorithm, created a hash, and then encrypted that hash or digitally signed that hash by using my private key, and then attached the digital signature to the document by embedding it in the document metadata or as a separate signature file. Now I will send this digitally signed document through the network to you. Now you are the verifier and you have received the message. Your job is to verify if it is the right document that you have received, if it is not altered, if it is from me. So to verify a digital signature, you need my public key. That is the signer's public key. This key is typically included in the signer's digital certificates we discussed here initially before creating the digital signature, right? Digital cert provided by a CA, which has my public key, my information, and my organization's information. So that will be obtained by you from a trusted source or the signer themselves. If I have self-signed it, I will send it to you. Next is you receive the digitally signed document. Now you will retrieve the signature. Now you will hash the document again. This is to recreate the hash of the received document using the same hash algorithm used by the signer, that is me. And then you will decrypt this signature using my public key, that is the verifier will decrypt the digital signature using the signer's public key. You will decrypt it, which should result in the original hash value. So if the decrypted hash matches the newly computed hash from the document, that means that the signature is valid and the document has not been tampered with. So once I sent the digitally signed document to you, you hash the original document again to create a hash value using the same hashing algorithm that I did, and then you decrypted the digital signature using my public key to create a value that is same as the hash value. So if this hash value and the decrypted value is exactly the same, then that means the document has not been tampered with. So optionally, you can check the signer's digital certificate to verify their identity and trustworthiness. Ensure that the certificate has not been expired and was issued by a trusted CA. So by following these steps, you can create and verify digital signatures to ensure the authenticity and integrity of digital documents or messages. Now let's see how digital signatures provide authentication. That is, because when a person or entity signs a document with their private key, it confirms that the document was indeed signed by the claimed sender. So I signed the digital signature using my private key. That means that the document was indeed signed by me. I am the sender here, right? So public key cryptography ensures that only the person or entity with the corresponding private key could have signed or created the signature. This authentication process establishes trust in the identity of the sender because only I have this private key, okay? Nobody else does. Next, we'll see how digital signatures provide data integrity. So to achieve this, a cryptographic hash of the document is created like this. Even a minor change in the document would result in a significantly different hash value. The digital signature is then applied to this hash. So this hash is signed. When the recipient, that is in this case you, verifies the digital signature, they calculate the new hash of the received document and compare it with the hash value obtained by decrypting the signature. That is, you are creating the hash and then you are comparing it with the hash that was provided to you. If the hashes match, it indicates that the document has not been tampered with since it was signed. Any change in the document would result in a mismatch signaling potential tampering. And this is how digital signatures provide data integrity. Next, we'll see how digital signatures provide non-repudiation. Like I mentioned before, non-repudiation is a critical legal concept that prevents the signer from denying their involvement in signing the document. That is, when I send the document, I cannot be like I did not send it. A digital signature provides legal evidence of the signer's intent and commitment. Since only the signer possesses the private key, that is, I possess my private key needed to create the digital signature, they cannot deny their responsibility for the signed document. This property is essentially important in contracts, legal agreements, and financial transactions. Now, let's see how digital signatures provide security. So, digital signatures use encryption techniques to secure the data. The private key is used to create the signature. So I'm using my private key to create the signature, which cannot be easily forged or duplicated without access to the private key. Public key cryptography ensures that even if the public key is widely shared, it cannot be used to reverse engineer the private key. Therefore, the private key remains a closely guarded secret, enhancing the security of the signature. Digital certificates. A digital certificate is a cryptographic document that serves as a form of digital identification and trust mechanism in online security. It plays a vital role in verifying the identity of individuals, systems, or entities in the digital realm and ensuring the integrity and security of online communications and transactions. So, in simple words, a digital certificate is a special online ID card with three main things. First is your name and details. That is, it contains your name, email address, and other information to confirm who you are or your organization. And then it has a security lock. This is your public key that is used to keep your online messages and data safe. Then it has a stamp of approval by a trusted authority. Trusted authority in this case is usually a CA, a certificate authority, saying yes, this person or organization is who they say they are. So when you send a secure email or visit a safe website, your digital certificate helps make sure your messages stay private and you know you're talking to the right person or website. Now let's see some of the important reasons why we need digital certificates. First, authentication. Digital certificates verify the identity of individual systems and entities in the online environment. They ensure that you are interacting with the legitimate party you intend to, preventing impersonation and fraud. Next, data privacy. Digital certificates enable secure encrypted communication. They protect sensitive data by ensuring that only authorized parties can access it. This is crucial for online banking, e-commerce, and any transaction of confidential information. Next is data integrity. Digital signatures enabled by digital certificates ensure that data has not been tampered with during transmission. This is important for documents, emails, and software downloads. Next is trust. Certificates provide a basis for trust in online transactions. So whenever you see HTTPS, right, in the address bar, in a web address, it means the website is using a digital certificate to secure your connection. This reassures users that the website is secure and trustworthy. Next reason why it is important, because it prevents man in the middle attack. Digital certificates help prevent man in the middle attacks where an attacker intercepts communications between two parties. With certificates, you can be confident you are communicating directly with the intended recipient. Next one, secure transactions. In e-commerce and online banking, digital certificates ensure that financial transactions are safe and that your sensitive information such as credit card details is protected. Next one, secure email. Digital certificates are used to sign and encrypt emails. This guarantees that the email is from the stated sender and that its content hasn't been altered. Next is protecting intellectual property. Organizations use certificates to sign software, ensuring that the users receive authentic, untampered software and that the organization's intellectual property is protected. Next one is compliance. Various industries and regions have specific regulations requiring data protection and security measures. Digital certificates are a key component of compliance with these regulations. Next is national security. Governments use digital certificates to secure their critical infrastructure, protect national secrets, and ensure secure communication among government agencies. Now let's see the key components of a digital certificate. It has three main key components. First one is public key. The public key is a fundamental part of a digital certificate. It is a cryptographic key that is designed to be shared openly. This key is associated with the certificate holder and serves two main primary functions. First one, encryption. The public key is used to encrypt data. When someone sends encrypted data to the certificate holder, only the certificate holder's private key can decrypt it. This ensures the confidentiality and privacy of information exchanged over the internet. Second function of a public key is verification of digital signatures. The public key is also used to verify digital signatures. When someone signs a document or a message with their private key, others can use the corresponding public key to confirm the authenticity of the sender and the integrity of the contents. If the digital signature verifies successfully, it indicates that the message has not been tampered with during transit. Next component is identity information. The digital certificate includes information about the certificate holder's identity. The information typically has details such as name, email address, organization's or company's name, physical location or address, a unique serial number associated with the certificate. This identification information is used to verify the certificate holder's identity. Certificate authorities, CAs, are responsible for validating the accuracy of this information before issuing a digital certificate. The third key component is digital signature. It serves as a seal of trust. It is created and added to the certificate by a trusted certificate authority, CA. So the CA uses its private key to generate the digital certificate. The digital signature is applied to the certificate ensuring its authenticity and integrity. When someone receives this certificate, they can use CA's public key to verify the signature, and if the verification is successful, it means the certificate has not been tampered with and that it was issued by the trusted CA. So, the combination of these three elements provide a secure, reliable means of identity verification and data protection in online communication and transactions. When you encounter a digital certificate, such as during secure website browsing, that is HTTPS, email signing, or code validation, these components work together to establish trust, protect data, and ensure the authenticity of the parties involved. Now let's see the process of obtaining and using a digital certificate. The process begins with a key pair generation. Let's say I am the one requesting for a digital certificate. I will generate a key pair. The key pair will have a public key and a private key. Like we mentioned before, the public key can be shared freely with anyone and is used for encryption and signature verification. The private key is kept secret and is used for decrypting and creating digital signatures. It should be protected and never shared. Now I have a public key and a private key. The next thing that I will do is to generate a CSR, that is certificate signing request. Typically, this is done by the entity or individual who wishes to obtain the digital certificate. In this case, I am generating it. This will include the entity's public key, identity information like name, organization, email address, and desired certificate attributes like certification purpose, why is it used, and more. Next, I will submit this CSR to a trusted certificate authority. I will choose one of the certificate authorities. There are many certificate authorities like DigiCert, GoDaddy, GeoTrust, Symantec, Entrust Data Card. So I will choose which one I want to send it to and send the CSR, that is certificate request, signing request, to that CA. Now this CA is responsible for verifying the entity's identity before issuing the certificate. The CA might perform various identity verification checks such as verifying the identity's domain ownership, checking business records, or conducting in-person identity verification for individuals. Once the CA verifies the entity's identity and CSR, it issues a digital certificate. The digital certificate includes, like we discussed before, public key of the entity, identity information, and a digital signature from the CA confirming the certificate's authenticity. Once the certificate holder or the entity receives the digital certificate from the CA, it must be installed on the entity's server or system. For a web server, this often involves importing certificate into the server's configuration. With the digital certificate installed, secure communication can begin. That is, first one, encryption. So the entity can use its private key to decrypt incoming data encrypted using its public key. Next, digital signatures. The entity can create digital signatures using its private key to verify its identity and integrity of messages. So because of this process, the others can trust the entity's digital certificate because the CA's digital certificate on the certificate confirms the identity of the entity. Something to remember is that these digital certificates that are issued by the CA have an expiration date. The entity must monitor and renew the certificate before it expires to maintain secure communications. In case the private key is compromised or the certificate is no longer needed, the certificate holder can request the CA to revoke the certificate. This invalidates the certificate, ensuring it is no longer trusted. The digital certificate process ensures secure online interactions, identity verification, data privacy, and trust. The role of the CA is very important in confirming the identity of the certificate holders and ensuring the authenticity of the issued certificates. So, we'll see about certificate revocation in depth a little bit. Let's see some of the common reasons for certificate revocation. First is key compromise. That is, if the private key associated with the certificate is lost, stolen, or otherwise compromised, the certificate must be revoked to prevent unauthorized use. Next, certificate is no longer needed. So, when a certificate is no longer relevant or is no longer required, it can be revoked to free up resources and maintain security. Next reason can be change in certificate details. That is, if there are changes in the certificate's details, like for example, a change of the organization or domain name, the existing certificate can be revoked and a new one can be issued. Next one is suspicion of compromise or misuse. If there are concerns about the misuse or unauthorized access involving a certificate, it is revoked for precaution. Next is CA security breach. If the CA itself is compromised or experiences a security breach, all certificates issued by the CA must be revoked for security reasons. Now let's see how this can be done. There are different methods. Let's see them one by one. First is CRL. It stands for Certificate Revocation List. A CRL is a periodically updated list of revoked certificates issued by a certificate authority. CRLs are digitally signed by the CA to ensure their authenticity. When a relying party, such as a web browser or email client, encounters a digital certificate, it checks the certificate's serial number against the CRL. So the CRL has many certificate serial numbers. When a web browser or email client checks the certificate's serial number against this CRL and a match is found, the certificate is considered revoked and not trusted. The next method to revoke a certificate is OCSP, that is Online Certificate Status Protocol. Like the name suggests, it is an online protocol that allows a relying party to query the CA in real time. This is to check the status of a specific digital certificate. Instead of downloading and parsing a CRL, the OCSP responder provides an immediate response regarding the certificate's validity. There is also something called as Delta CRL. Delta CRL is a variation of the standard CRL. It contains a list of certificates that have been revoked since the last full CRL was issued. Delta CRLs are used to reduce the size and processing requirements when checking for revoked certificates. And there is AIA, Authority Information Access. The AIA extension in a digital certificate's details provides information on how to access the CA CRL or OCSP responder. It assists the relying parties in obtaining the most up-to-date information about the certificate status. Then there is automated revocation. In some cases, digital certificates can be configured to check their own revocation status automatically. This ensures they are still valid before each use. This mechanism is known as automatic revocation checking. Now let's see the types of digital certificates. First one, SSL TLS certificates. This is used to secure data transmitted between a user's web browser and a website, providing encryption and authentication. This is essential for HTTPS connections, ensuring secure and trusted online transactions and communications. Another type is code signing certificates. This is used by software developers to digitally sign their codes or scripts. This allows end users to verify that the software hasn't been tampered with or altered by malicious parties. Next is email certificates. This is used for securing email communications. They can be used to sign and encrypt emails, ensuring the authenticity of the sender and the privacy of the message. Next, client authentication certificates. This is employed for verifying the identity of individuals accessing secure systems such as VPNs or online services. They are commonly used in two-factor authentication systems. Next is server authentication certificates. This ensures that the server you are connecting to is indeed the server it claims to be. This is crucial for secure website browsing. Next is document signing certificates. This is used for digitally signing documents such as PDFs to verify their authenticity and integrity. These certificates are often used in legal and financial transactions. Next is qualified certificates. Qualified certificates provide a high level of trust and are used for legally significant transactions and signatures within the EU. Next, we have Internet of Things IoT certificates. These are designed for IoT devices. These certificates ensure secure communication between devices and centralized systems. They are essential for securing smart devices and systems. Next is government issued certificates. These are issued by the government authorities for various purposes such as identity verification, digital signatures, and secure access to government services. Next one, object signing certificates. This is used to sign and verify objects such as scripts, macros, or software applications to ensure their authenticity and integrity. Then there is domain validated certificates. DV. These certificates verify domain ownership but do not perform extensive identity checks on the certificate holder. They are often used for basic website encryption. Next is organization validated certificates. In addition to domain validation, OV certificates also verify the organization's identity. They are used to provide an extra layer of trust for websites and online services. Next one is extended validation certificates. These are the highest level of SSL TLS certificates. Extended validation certificates involve rigorous identity verification of the certificate holder. Websites with EV certificates display a green address bar in most web browsers, indicating a high level of trust. So each type of digital certificate serves specific security and authentication needs. Now let's see how a web browser verifies a website's digital certificate, typically used for secure HTTPS connections. First, user initiates connection. That is, a user opens web browser and enters a website address, that is URL, to visit a website. For example, say I will open the web browser and enter https www.example.com. Second step is website presence certificate. The web server hosting the website responds to the user's request and sends a digital certificate to the browser. Next step is browser receives the certificate. This certificate includes the website's public key, identity information, and the digital signature of the certificate authority CA. Now the browser checks certificate validity. The first thing that the browser does is to check if the certificate is within its validity period. Certificates have a defined start and end date. If the certificate has expired, the browser will display a warning. Next step, browser verifies CA signature. That is, the browser verifies the digital signature on the certificate using the CA's public key. This public key would have been pre-installed in the browser. If the signature is valid, it means the certificate has not been tampered with and is issued by a trusted CA. Next one, browser checks certificate revocation. The browser may check the certificate revocation list CRL or use the online certificate status protocol OCSP to ensure the certificate has not been revoked. If revoked, the browser will display a warning. Next step is browser trusts the CA. If the CA signature is valid and the certificate has not been revoked, the browser trusts the CA and can now trust the website certificate. Next, browser extracts the website's public key from the certificate. This public key will be used for secure communication. Next is secure key exchange. The browser and the web server initiate a secure key exchange using the website's public key to securely exchange an encryption key. Next step is secure data transmission. With the encryption key in place, data transmitted between the browser and the web server is encrypted, ensuring the confidentiality and integrity of the data. Next is secure connection indication. The browser displays a padlock icon or similar visual indicator in the address bar along with the HTTPS indicating that the connection is secure. You must have seen this lock key in the address bar or observe it next time when you visit an HTTPS website. Next is user interacts securely. The user can now interact securely with the website, confident that their data is protected from eavesdropping or tampering. So, this process establishes a secure encrypted connection between the user's web browser and the website, ensuring that the website is authentic and data transmitted is protected.